Hi. This week on the Two Limes and a Lemon podcast, we continue our 6 Degrees of Separation series, linking last week's film, Around the World in 80 Days, through Owen Wilson to today's feature, which also sort of thematically links as we join the brothers Whitman on a journey of self-discovery, family trauma, and grief as they travel through a meticulously quirky version of India in 2007's The Darjeeling Limited.
Are we having theme music? Like, how do we... Is it just start with us talking?
Yeah, Dave's gonna do us some like a jingle, I think.
Dave.
Nah.
Danielle.
Two limes and a lemon.
Hi, and welcome to the Two Limes and a Lemon podcast. I'm Danielle, your host for this week. Join with me, as always, are my two co-hosts, Dave and Natalie. Say hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
Namaste. What do you mean? Oh,
He's embracing the theme.
yeah.
Is it culture appreciation or
I was waiting
appropriation?
for that. I was waiting for the PC.
It's the
PC,
Brits
please.
colonizing everything, taking it over.
Oh no.
So, before we get into discussing this week's movie, first we're going to go around and see what everybody's been consuming. For those of you just joining us for the first time, this is sort of our icebreaker to see what everybody's been up to for the week. It can be a movie, video game, book, or even a food, like literally consuming. So let's start out with Natalie. Natalie, what have you been consuming this week?
This week, I have been consuming a bit of my like high subscription, like rubbish TV, I call it. So I had already watched season 1 of Below Decks a while ago, but I've got back into season 2 and now I'm on season 3. So I've been watching that most days. So Danielle tells me that season 3 of Below Decks is the best season, and I've just started it, and Chef Ben isn't there, so I'm like, I don't even know if I want to carry on.
No, you have to. I'm going to spoil this for you, so you stick with it. He comes on because Chef Leon is terrible.
Okay, good, because like Chef Ben's my favourite. It's not just because he's the only Brit on board. Like, he is definitely the best character. I also don't really like the head stew, Kate. I prefer the one from the first season.
Oh. Well, she never comes back.
Well, she came back for like one episode in season 2.
I don't think she even shows up again. On that.
Did she not?
If you enjoy Below Deck, you can't be too precious because the cast changes a lot more than anything else. So if you're looking for like your next Real Housewives franchise where you get to, follow 20 years of Kyle Richards and what's going on with her family, you're not getting that.
Dave.
I was going to say, yeah, Danielle.
Well, no, because Danielle's hosting.
I got a new Hoover. So I was just like, because we're shooting 2 of these back to back. We're banking them, so I haven't done too much this week. But I know
Ruin the movie.
We also took off 4 weeks.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's fine. Tell us about your Hoover.
So it's
4 weeks. We haven't not done.
I realized as the words came out of my mouth that was wrong.
It's been like 2.
It's been months, Natalie, since we've recorded. So we're banking them. So I bought a Hoover. To summarise, it's better than the other Hoover because do you know what it is? That like just to make people like stay on and listen a bit more. It's that feeling.
Oh, what about your Hoover?
It's that there's nothing better or a better feeling of when you've gone over the carpet with a Hoover and you get that ding ding noise. Like,
what?
As it goes up.
The crackle of the dust goes up. Yeah, I know what you meant.
You get the crackle of the dust going up the pipe. And it just feels like you're cleaning, and it's like, there we go. And when you get like, oh my god, it's like and you get this big one come through.
Yeah, and then you think, did I just Hoover up something important?
Yeah, was that a whole plug that's gone into the Hoover? And it's very important at the moment because the guinea pigs are being messy as anything. Their poo rate is ridiculous. So cleaning their little hutches and stuff.
Mate, you should have a budgie every 15 minutes.
But yeah, I've got 2 guineas, so that's 200 poos a day. They're looking at me now. They're eating their hay, and I'm just like, oh, that's going to be lots of poo. I can already see it piling
You
up. In
put
the
diapers
corner.
on them?
No, that would be even worse.
Do you know what? The budgie loves the Hoover. He loves like hair dryers, the Hoover, anything loud and obnoxious like he is.
Well, the guinea pigs are getting used to the Hoover now, so they're like, it's cool. We get that. It's fine. You can just Hoover as loud as you want. We won't panic anymore. They literally come out and watch it, and they're like, oh.
Oh, the cats run and hide. They think they're going to be killed.
So that's our Hoover podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Two Limes and a Lemon podcast sponsored by...
Yeah, next week we'll look at window cleaners. So stick around for that, Gem.
What have you been consuming, Danielle?
This week I've been playing a video game that I thoroughly love. It's one was on my radar for a while because it was available on, I think, Steam, and it just came to PlayStation, and it's called Tiny Bookshop. And it is what you would consider a cozy game, but even more so, it's a bookish cozy game. And I am just hooked. I stopped playing this other narrative game that I had started, and I'm just full in on making money in my bookshop. The best part about it is you give recommendations. So they have like real book titles, and somebody comes in and they're like, I'm looking for a romance film and I really like vampires. And then you look through all of your book titles and try and find the book that suits their taste. And then
These like real books.
yes.
Oh,
Yes.
I thought it was just like The Turn of the Mule or something like made up. Oliver Spin.
I had a bookshop game that is like that, where it's like you're not in the little caravan sort of bookshop. It's like a proper bricks and mortar one, and that does have that where it's like classic titles, but they're just slightly different.
Speaking of that, I was trying to remember the other day, what was that Hobbit parody book you had, Dave, on your shelf? Do you still have that? Somebody must have gotten you it as a joke gift. I was trying to remember the name of it.
I don't know. I don't think so.
What? That wasn't an answer.
The guinea pig was trapped, okay? I was going to try quietly doing it, and I was like, I can quickly do that before.
And then you thought you would double down by just saying, I don't know, I don't think so.
Yeah, that sometimes works with you talking to you guys. Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes, it was a very specific. It was. Do you remember?
I thought it was going to be a question like, would you reckon you'd have enjoyed that type of game? And I'd be like, no, I don't think so.
It was. I was thinking the other day of that Hobbit parody book that you had on your shelf, and I was trying to remember what the name of it was.
That was called like the Sod It, wasn't it? Nat got me that. You got me the Sod It, and I was like, I'm never going to read this, but thank you so much. Yeah.
But
I don't even remember that. It must have been some years ago.
It's like a very long time ago. I don't know if I even own it now.
it's still at your old place.
It's like Bim Bob Baggins
Probably.
and his friend Gudov. I was just like, I'm never going to... It's just basically someone got the Hobbit book and just changed bits of the names.
The names.
And it's like, why? And then you're like, Dave will like this, the Sod It.
Exactly. He likes a load of crap.
Yeah,
But no, it's not that. It's
I was sorting the guineas out really quickly.
Okay.
Of course.
So, with that, let's get on to this week's movie. We're still in this 6 Degrees of Separation series where we're linking movies, and I think it's going to be pretty fun because I think next to the Hear Me Out, this is like the most random assortment of films. Like, you really have to think about the logical flow in this series of films that we're picking. So this week, we're linking Owen Wilson, who played one of the Wright brothers in Around the World in 80 Days, to 2007's The Darjeeling Limited. Darjeeling Limited is a Wes Anderson film. It's the story of the 3 Whitman brothers who are reconnecting sometime after the death of their father. The eldest son, Francis, played by Owen Wilson, it's implied that he's recovering from a failed suicide attempt and physically shows how broken he is with a face that's bruised and bandaged. Middle child Peter is holding on to any remaining physical possessions of his dead father and is terrified of becoming a father himself. And youngest son Jack is an author who tries to curate his own life the way he would do with his stories. The brothers have met up in India to travel by train, which Frances has meticulously planned, with an ending reunion with their estranged mother, who none of them have spoken to since before their father's funeral, which she skipped. There's no big plot. It's just the story of this fractured family trying to find each other again in a beautiful backdrop. And so, as we always do, I want to see who's seen this film before.
I have. I saw it many, many years ago, but I have seen it before.
Dave?
No, I've not seen it at all.
Were you aware of it?
Never heard of it. Never knew it existed.
This is a Wes Anderson film. Wes Anderson, I think, is very polarizing. He has a very distinct directorial style. His films all have a distinctive look and feel to them. Going into this, what are people's feelings about Wes Anderson films? I can give mine first. I love them. And I don't know if we've kind of talked about this before. I have a love of these very distinctive directors.
Yeah.
Wes Anderson definitely has this curation to the films that it's very artificial, and for the most part I'm on board with that. There's sometimes that he gets a little too caught up in the little cutesy details and it loses the heart. Yeah, that's where I'm starting from. Natalie?
I've seen a few of his. Like, obviously I've seen this, I've seen the Grand Budapest. Like you say, I think going into a Wes Anderson film, you know that you've got to look at it differently for like a typical movie. Like, the momentum of the movie is going to be different to what you expect from a regular movie. Like, I think if you go in thinking like, oh, it's going to be like a normal sort of blockbuster movie, you're going to be like, what is this? Like, I think for like Dave, who you said you had never heard of this movie, and going into it, it's like, it can be a bit jarring to be like, not a lot's happening. I mean, I think that's the case as well. Like, these movies, the actual plot of what's happening isn't very elaborate. It isn't very like interesting really on paper, but it's because of like the art, I suppose, of the filmmaking that makes it enjoyable.
Yeah, and I'd say with this film, like I compare it to like our discussion with Bone Tomahawk, where it's more a film about these characters and their internal growth and not so much any big events.
Yeah.
I do get the feeling that it can contradict me or not, Dave, that's not usually your cup of tea.
No, like I am like quite fond of those films where not a lot's happening. I've seen quite a lot of films where it's like very minimal plot and characters. For a Wes Anderson film, I'm going to put my hands up. I haven't really watched many of them, so probably I'll have to watch more. From watching this one, I could slowly see his vision of how he puts films together. And then I was like, then once I hooked onto that, I started going, oh, okay, we're going to do it. This format is going to be repetitive over and over and over again. So, for example, he does those pans. Someone will say something, pan to someone else, there's a pause, then they'll react. And it was kind of like, oh, that's quirky, I like that. But then after a while, I could see it just becoming a thing. And I was like, oh, no.
You were calling it out before it happened.
Cut to whip pan, cut to awkward silence and reaction, cut to this, and I was just like, I get what you're doing, but you've done it too many times for me now I've lost interest. Yeah, so I like stylized directing, it's good, but this film dragged for me. I couldn't get into it. Hold on, can I just say one thing I really liked though? I liked his color palettes.
Sure.
I'm a fan of his color palettes. He can decorate my room or whatever he wants. He can color grade all my films. I was just not. The camera work for me was I don't know. That's the only bit I didn't enjoy as much. But I loved the color palettes and the vision behind it all, and really sort of showcasing this sort of Indian environment and country.
For me, his movies feel almost like books. Like the way the characters talk is almost the affected style in a book. And so for me, the quirkiness of that I find kind of amusing. I like the attention to detail, like in this film particularly, like the train car is just like beautifully, like every design element is just planned out. Like you can see that it's very important to him. The train car had like some 1,000 number of hand painted elephants on it, and the the dining car that they go in, everything was hand designed. The little chandeliers in the dining room, the hand painted dishes. You didn't even see the dishes, and they had, they were hand painted with a Darjeeling Limited logo on them. I, really appreciate all that stuff. This is the second time I've watched it, or second or third time I've watched this. It's not one that I watch and rewatch like some of the other films. And I think it's because the heart of it never really had appealed to me before, but I don't know if it's just having gone through some loss myself since I've watched this again. The characters and their journey and the whole dealing with grief, I think really hit me a lot harder this time than it did previously.
Yeah, I mean, this is the second time I've watched it. Really, the only thing I really remembered about it, obviously, was that they're like all grieving the loss of their father, and also the revelation of Francis. That is Francis, isn't it? Owen Wilson. That you think he's just had an accident, and then finally he admits like he drove into like a wall or whatever on purpose. And then like I remember when I first watched it being like, oh no, like was kind of shocked about it, but I don't know, this time it just didn't hit for me. Like I said to Dave when we watched this one together, and I was like, oh yeah, Darjeeling Limited, like I remember watching it with my mum and I really enjoyed it. Again, a bit like No Country for Old Men. I've watched it again and I'm like, why did I like rose tinted glasses think I really enjoyed it? Because this time I didn't enjoy, but then maybe it's different. Maybe like watching it with Dave, no offense Dave, isn't the same as like, oh, girls night watching a movie with like your mum sort of thing. So maybe it's just a completely different atmosphere, and maybe that's why, but I just didn't enjoy it as much.
And maybe it's time of life too. Maybe 10 years down the line you watch it again and some element of it hits again for you.
I reckon he's more like his shots in terms of stills. If you just put stills together of the framing that he's done and the colours and stuff, he'd be really good photographer for me. And he's like very much every shot is a painting, which is wonderful to look at and see. I'm like, oh, he's really thought about those shots and he's stylized himself into these movies. Like the way he dresses, he looks like Mr. Fox or whatever he's called.
He does commercials too, but for this, like the strangest luxury things. Like he's got a series of Mont Blanc pen commercials, just like.
Yeah, I remember those.
But no, there is. Speaking of the photography, there's an Instagram and then a book called Accidentally Wes Anderson, and it's just that thing: people taking photographs in the style of Wes Anderson. I think a lot of people agree with you on that. And I think the detail of things, like I remember watching a behind the scenes on the Royal Tenenbaums, which was, I think it was his like third movie. And there's all these like hand painted book covers and things. It's all just in the background. You get the feeling that even those background details are as important as anything else.
He's meticulous with the details, yeah.
Like, I have to take some of that back then. Like in terms of the film, I didn't find it that. I wasn't that interested. But it's more of an art piece, his work, I think.
Sure.
Yeah.
They're like, you could see it in an art gallery, just those stills, or if you made loads of short films and stuff. There's art, it's sort of bringing back the storytelling in an art form rather than that, like you said, Nat, the typical film that you see with just shot like regular like everybody else and not having too much creativity into it,
or just like generating like CGI backgrounds. There's no passion or love gone into it. It's almost like when they used to do like the backgrounds for like these big epic movies and they were hand painted like these scenery. It's very much like reminiscent of that. Like the amount of dedication and passion that people had for it.
Like I said, I'm not somebody that looks into composition of shots or anything, but I was kind of paying a little more attention this time. And he's got this tendency to frame a character speaking dead center in the frame. And then it, whenever there's a confrontation between two characters, there's only one character dead center in frame with blank space on either side of them. You never really see two characters speaking at each other with the blank space in the middle.
No. Most of the time when you've actually got like a 2-shot, or in this case, a lot of the time it's like a 3-shot, they usually silent. They're kind of just sitting in the frame, not really doing anything. But then, like, as soon as they start talking, like, I'm picturing, like, them on, like, the platform, or when they're sitting on their little bunk in the train thing. A lot of those scenes, they're just kind of sat there, like, all in their own thoughts.
It sort of conceptualizes their relationship. So whenever all three of them are together, they're kind of quiet and awkward and don't know what to do with themselves. And then, when we start meeting them, we see all these like side. Francis and Peter will have a conversation, don't tell Jack. And then Jack and Peter will say something and don't tell Francis. And so it kind of just shows how disjointed they are post father dying. Like, the patriarch of this family died. The mother, she's gone off and left them to kind of deal with their grief in different ways. And I think none of them have really dealt with it at all. But before we get into that more, another composition thing that I really enjoyed in this were the scenes in the train car. And so they're in this larger first class train car, and there'll be scenes where one or two of them is on one side of the car where the bedding is, and then the other one is at the other side, and they've got like a cutout panel on the side, and then they've got a mirror that is the same shape and size as that cutout panel, and kind of just playing with the reflection and like through the doorway in this open panel to get all three of them in these shots in the train car.
He's very good at his sort of like symmetrical editing, kind of blocking and staging it properly to make sure like it's not just a match cut or something. He's thinking about other ways to match those shots up when he's cutting his pieces together. So it's not just like, he's using shape and form and stuff to cut his scenes together, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not just like especially with the train car, there's so many shapes there, you can easily match them up with something else in another scene. So he's using that as his way to cut from one place to another. Very creative, I'll give him that.
Yeah. And I think with the Wes Anderson films, that balance is sometimes tenuous. So sometimes I think he leans too heavily into the structure and all these meticulous details, and you lose a little sight of the plot and the characters. So something like Asteroid City that came out a year or two ago, I don't remember what the heart of it was. I remember there was a little alien. I remember there was all these like quirky little Southwestern decorations and things. But, I think I would have put this one in that same regard too. So maybe just going back and watching them after the initial like wow factor of, oh, look how much effort was put into all the details in this film. Then you can kind of go back and chew on
the story.
Yeah. So speaking of the story, what did we think of the characters?
I mean, obviously at the beginning, they're all sort of unlikable in their own ways. But by the end of it, yeah, I think because they literally have a scene where they're running for the next train and they leave all their baggage literally behind them, sort of thing, very symbolically. And then at that point, they are likable and you understand their reasonings and why they've been acting in these horrible ways. And I think by the end of the movie, they are likable. But definitely at the beginning, I've got in my notes, every single brother is unlikable.
I wondered, so I'm sure Dave hasn't, but Natalie, when you watched it initially, did you see the short beforehand?
I couldn't tell you. I watched it so many years ago, I don't remember.
So in the theater, and then with the DVD, it comes with this like less than 10-minute short called The Hotel Chevalier. And it is Jason Schwartzman's character, Jack, living in a hotel, kind of not going back to his real life, just living in this hotel. And then Natalie Portman is his ex-lover and visits him. They decide to, have a tryst, even though they've had what seems like a bad breakup. And he knows that, he's still emotionally tied to her. She's got some sort of issues and maybe is playing with him a little bit.
Which would explain the Natalie Portman cameo later on in this movie, because she's in it for about 5 seconds as it pans by.
Elijah Wood cameo there, like when he was in Back to the Future.
I actually think she had less time than Elijah Wood in the actual movie.
Do you think that would have enhanced your viewing at all?
No, I would have been more tired.
I don't think so.
Because also you learn that the story that he wrote, that's all in that short at the beginning prior to watching the movie.
Right, okay.
And then also,
I mean, obviously it would have made us look at it a bit differently, but I suppose if I had to pick, Jack was my least likable brother by the end of it. So I wasn't as committed to his story as I was the other two.
You know what? I tended to like Jack, and I don't know if it's just because I also kind of subconsciously have this flair for the dramatic, and I try and like dramatize my life sometimes for better or for worse.
I did put that I would have been him in the situation where he thinks he's lost his passport and he absolutely freaks out. That would have been me, because like when you go abroad, I'm always like, I better check my passport. I'm just going to check him again. Check that he's still there.
No, I have been known in parts of my life to create my own soundtrack to fully get into the mood of whatever sad or happy thing has happened. When I found out my dad passed away when I was like 14 or 15, I remember I went up into my room and I put on a record playing Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata just over and over again.
But I mean, at least you had taste, because Moonlight Sonata, that's a great choice.
Well, he plays Claire de Lune.
Do you know what? I said this to Dave. Claire de Lune is so overplayed in
yes,
movies. I don't know if it's just that it's really easy to get the rights to Claire de Lune, but Jesus Christ, people, think of another classical piece of music to put on something.
I think it's recognizable, and so I think we're all like programmed to, Claire de Lune comes on, this is going to be like contemplative.
I'm sick of it.
What's Claire de Lune again? How's it going?
It's like dum 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 dum.
Oh, blum 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 blum.
Yes,
blum, blum,
yeah, that
blum,
one.
Blum
Dun,
blum
dun,
blum 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 blum. It sounds like a butter advert, doesn't it?
but I think even people who don't know classical music, they go, "Oh, I know that from somewhere. I know how to feel."
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, and I just feel angry because I'm like, stop using it.
No, I fully agree, though. It's become a bit trite. What did you think of their spiritual journey? I think I think this gets back to where we kind of joked at the beginning about cultural appropriation versus appreciation. I think Western-wise, there's this, like, fantasized spiritual journey going to India, and that you're going to like automatically become very like relaxed and zen and in touch with things, and they kind of like, I feel like that's sort of the motivation here.
There's a lot of movies about people going to India and having like you say, these spiritual lives. You've got you've got Eat, Pray, Love. I think that's India, isn't it? You've got like the Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. It's almost like its own genre of film about like Westerners going to India or Asian countries and like finding themselves spiritually and like learning to have like a slower pace of life. I think like with this movie, it's very much like rituals are a big thing. Like they have this ritual that he needs to perform, or he wants them all to perform, where they're gonna like release the like
peacock feather.
Yeah, the peacock feather is like, then they all kind of get it wrong at different points in the movie.
By the time they have their catharsis and the funeral, which we can talk about next, they finally come, like, spiritually come together and, like, symbolically come together. Oh, and then the thing with their mother, they kind of, we can touch on that too. But then they finally are able to have this ceremony properly and to get some closure. Yeah,
I was going to say, this film is very much, because I was thinking, like, you can't force a spiritual journey.
No, agreed.
This is what I kind of feel the film is trying to tell you, because they've gone, the older Owen Wilson is kind of like, we're doing this as a troupe, and we're going to do all these things. We're going to pray at the altars that we see. We're going to do all these things. And none of it's working, and it ends up with them just going home in the end of it all. But because of that issue they found with those young boys in the river, that kind of helps push that spiritual journey onto something. So that accident became their spiritual journey, if that made sense. So they're trying to push for it.
I fully agree.
Yeah, that's their turning point.
So that's I think the message of the story is just you gotta don't try and push for the thing. Go experience life or whatever, but then don't look for it. It will come to you when it's best needed, if that makes sense. That's what I kind of now thinking about it. That's the kind of message I'm seeing with the story.
I think my takeaway was they never really had a proper closure about their father's passing. The men are walking and they see these 3 boys trying to cross this rough river, and their little raft turns over, and each one of them tries to rescue another of the boys. One of them dies, and they end up taking the kids back to the village. Then they're going to leave, but then the villagers are like, no, you're invited to the funeral. And so they then cut that with back to before their father's funeral, when they get caught up in this detail about trying to get his car out of the shop to take to the funeral, but the car is irreparably broken. They can't get it to drive back. And it's sort of inferred that maybe they missed the funeral. The mother definitely didn't go to the funeral. Like, they're running late, and Peter's wife is trying to hold the funeral.
It seems like, I was going to say, the only one that seems to get there is Peter's wife.
So it's clear that they haven't gotten any closure, and being able to actually experience this funeral, and it seems to provide some sort of closure to them. But then that leads to this scene with their mother, which for me, I didn't quite understand all of that as much.
I feel like they were building it up like we're gonna go see the mum all along, and I felt like when they actually got there, it should have been like a profound moment or like a scene that was like there was something to like draw from it. But the way it was played, maybe it was intentional in that she obviously is like a crappy person, so nothing did change and they didn't get anything from it. But it was just so nondescript almost. Like, they could have even not gone seen the mum, and I feel like the film would have been exactly the same.
It made me wonder about the childhood more, because it kind of infers that the father is traveling a lot. And maybe I put that on because he's got this like immense luggage collection. And then also
monogrammed luggage.
Also, we kind of get a glimpse of him in that early scene. Like, it's implied that Bill Murray is the father. And so we get the scene of him running for the train, and then it sort of transfers to Peter running past him and getting on the train.
Is it implied that he's the father?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, I never got that.
I mean, it's not very strongly implied. We get this sort of montage in a train of all the important people in their lives, and he is one of them. And so I thought, in my mind, that is the revelation that he is the father, because that's when also we get Natalie Portman is on a bed in...
Peter's wife's in a carriage, heavily pregnant.
But I always thought it was Bill Murray was the father. But so he was sort of traveling around, and then the mother... It's not like, she does not seem nurturing at all. Or maybe she had to give up so much of her life to do all of the primary care for these kids, and that's why she's like, as soon as the father's gone, she's out of the whole situation. But I don't know. It's all sort of left up. It's not really said. I think the one interesting point with the mother is, as soon as they see her, she's like planning their breakfast. She's like, okay, Francis, you'll get this. Peter, you'll have this. It's exactly what Francis does at every meal for his brothers. Like, he tells them what they're going to get and what they're going to do. So it's clear that's the only indication to me that she had a real influence on them.
And obviously she's played by Angelica Houston. I don't know if we've actually mentioned that.
Angelica,
she's in quite a lot of Wes Anderson films.
I mean, he has sort of his group of people that he uses and reuses a lot in these films,
like Tim Burton does.
I was looking before this. I was actually interested because the connection of Owen Wilson. The Wilson brothers were in all of Wes Anderson's early films. They had gone to college together and were friends. And I think,
really?
And I think after maybe this one, he stopped using them. And they haven't done a film with him since. And so there wasn't anything, I couldn't find anything, quickly looking beforehand, that there was a falling out, just that they were Like, I think
Yeah.
the log line was that they were all busy with different projects and couldn't make it work.
I mean, back in 2007, I'm assuming that's around the sort of time of like Wedding
Yes.
Crashes and things. And obviously Owen Wilson was like massive.
Yeah, I mean,
you had like Marley and Me and all these like things. I'm really sorry about the budgie. He just won't shut up.
I was just going to say Luke Wilson was in a bunch of like romantic comedies at that time too. And so, yeah, everybody was at sort of the height of their career then, but
Yeah, so maybe they left Wes Anderson behind them.
maybe they need to get back to it, because I think Wes Anderson's last film, The Phoenician Scheme, didn't do so. I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know where it fits in with all the rest of his films, but it definitely wasn't as commercially successful as some of the other ones. So maybe they need to get the band back together and come back to the roots of what made them all popular. Yeah, so with that, let's get to our ratings. Dave, did you like any of these characters?
I think I like the train guard because he kicks him out.
Oh, yeah.
And he's
Yeah, you said that while we were watching it, the steward.
he's like, give me that cobra, right? Get out. He sorts everything out really quickly. So
I love the little touch
Yeah,
that
train guard.
at the end, you see that he's like taken in the cobra and has it as a pet. Like, he didn't kill it. He did kind of, like, whenever we had that montage of everybody.
Friend Cobra. Do you know what? I totally missed that in that montage.
I didn't know that either. So that's good to know. I think I was out by then.
That's a nice little touch. For when you rewatch
Yeah.
it, Dave,
10
you'll be
years
able
down
to
the
have a
line.
look out for that.
What about
Definitely
least
find that
favorite
old
characters? Can you pinpoint one character that you really hated the most?
film.
Can't just say all of them.
Probably Owen Wilson's character.
Hmm.
Just annoyed me. He's taking your passports. No thanks. I want to look after my own passport. Yeah. Too controlling. There you go.
Sure. Yeah. Natalie?
My best character was probably Peter, and my worst character was Jack. With Peter, obviously, I feel like we're seeing the movie sort of from Peter's perspective, which does help. I feel like it was a bit of a toss-up between Peter and Francis, because I feel like, to me, they had the biggest character arc and progression, whereas I feel like Jack, he was... I mean, maybe if I'd seen the short at the beginning, I'd have had a different opinion, but I felt like his character progression for me wasn't as advanced as theirs. I felt like Peter, obviously, he was the most distraught by their father's death almost, and then to have him as the one that was holding the child that died on the river was almost like a slap in the face sort of thing, because he was obviously the one that was already affected by death the most. He was still being affected by death, that he still couldn't save this little boy. But with obviously Francis, although he was this domineering character and it was all like everything's so wonderful, obviously for him to have tried to like take his own life sort of thing, you then see that obviously there is something deeper underneath. So I suppose Peter and Francis are kind of joint first, but I didn't enjoy Jack. I didn't enjoy him with the lady on the train. I just thought it was all just a bit, and he was the one that bought the snake.
No, Peter.
Right? No, that was
Bought the snake.
That was Peter, wasn't it? Yeah, no. I just didn't enjoy his character.
I thought there were some
much.
interesting character quirks that they introduced with Peter. Like I said, he's got this. He's the one really holding on. Like they all have this need to like equally divide out the possessions of their father. Like the luggage is all divided between them equally. But Peter has been like kind of squirreling away certain things, and there's this, he's wearing glasses that are the father's sunglasses, like prescription sunglasses. So he's basically walking around, with a prescription that is not his own sunglasses to reconnect with his father. And then there's this little back and forth about this belt.
Yes.
Owen Wilson gives it to him, and then he takes it back, and then he gives it to him again. And I didn't look very closely, but I think the belt might match the luggage with the hand-painted sort of animals and cactuses on it. My favorite character, and again, this is just because I thought I enjoyed his quirks, was Jack. I fully admit I looked up how much a manual typewriter costs. Because I was like, oh, I love that idea of just like typing out your stories on individual notepad pages. Maybe I should do that. Maybe that would be the thing that gets me back to writing again. Just so similarly, I missed the mark a bit with how to motivate myself to things. Instead of actually sitting down and doing, I'm making my soundtrack. I'm making the playlist to write my great novel and never actually writing my great novel. And then I think my least favorite was the mother, and I think like how absent she was and how they're just longing for a connection with this woman, and she abandons them at all these important parts. Like, she can't even be there to see them to have breakfast the next morning. She like runs off. And so
what I didn't like with her was like, she was like, oh no, you can't come because I am too busy and like the people need me. Like, she had a proper like savior complex.
Okay, on to favorite scenes. What was everybody's favorite scene? How about Nat first?
Mine was the symbolic scene of them, once they've gone through all of this, running to catch the next train and leaving all, like, obviously the baggage has been like a bone of contention before, like, between them all, and for them to leave it just so they can all get on the train together and it's just left up like the station sort of thing. That was probably my favourite scene, leaving their literal baggage behind.
Dave?
Yeah, I agree. I think I like that one the same amount, I think.
I picked the contrasting funerals because I thought that was sort of the heart of the plot of the film, is in the climax and resolution, just simply showing how there were these two funerals and it took the second funeral for them to kind of get some closure. So with that, let's go around and give it a score. So as we always do, we give scores out of 5 limes or lemons. Dave and Natalie are the limes in this case, and I'm the lemon. Dave, what are you giving this movie?
This atrocious film, probably like Nah, it's alright film. I was going to be like, oh, it's a 2. And I'm like, oh, is it a 4 though? Because it is really well done, but I wouldn't watch it again or recommend it to anyone. So I give it
well, if you wouldn't recommend it, you can't give it a 4.
Or maybe you give it a 2.5. Maybe you give it a little bit higher than a 2.
Let's just go with a 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is much better than
I've given it a 2.5. In my mind, I was going to give it like a 4, but then rewatching it, I've given it a 2.5. Sure. I think this will probably be the last time I watch it, to be honest. It's not that I don't enjoy it, it's just that
you've got what you need out of it.
It is very slow. I like a slow movie, but this is very slow.
I gave it a 4.5. I think I came into this thinking I would give it like a 4, and because the emotional drama of it all kind of appealed to me more this time, I bumped it up a little bit. I love a Wes Anderson film, and I wouldn't say this is my favorite of them, but I wouldn't rate this at the bottom. So I think with that, we're going to close up the episode, and thank you all for listening, and thank you guys for watching this movie. Next week, we're going to link up to another auteur director film. So it's bye for me.
See you next Wednesday.
Bye.